we are going to talk with Dr. Mirsad Hadzikadic today.
Good job. I'm
Yeah.
impressed. You
I'm working on my,
practiced.
yes, very much. He's our director, Complex System Institute Lab, and also our professor. So we prepared some questions for you.
I'm ready.
And if you are ready, we would like to. And we prepared like all together with our old mates. So it is kind of a common job. So if there's anything that you want to say no, we will tell that person.
So it was a joint effort.
Yes.
Cool.
And first of all, this question is going to be about like our lab. How were you introduced to complexity theory?
Wow, that's a great question because I don't remember. I remember reading about life, society, nature, almost everything, and came across that book by Stephen Waldrop on complexity and his experience in Santa Fe, and really liked it. Then I read a lot of books by Friedrich Capra, and he has this wonderful way of explaining how life is interesting and it's composed of these minute little things interacting with each other and creating all this diversity that's around us. And you suddenly realize that we are solving a lot of problems as a band-aid approach. We are covering consequences rather than those fundamental principles that are causing things that we see around us. And I got interested, and probably also because I've never been good at math, or nobody explained it to me carefully enough so you can see the values in the formal representation of things in life, which is beautiful, marvelous. But I never got that bug, so this was actually great. It was a way to understand things around us without getting down to a formal way of representing the macro properties of the phenomenon. Basically, what I'm trying to say, what was cool about it was the fact that these fundamental small things that we don't understand give rise to all of this richness of life, and I got interested.
So basically, can we say that you read a book and you wanted to be in this theory more? And
You
did
could
meet
say
some
that, yeah.
people,
Okay, so you
or
can say that I read the book and it happened, but also there was a need for something more that came
you had
before the
in
book.
your
I
mind.
wanted to. I was searching for something, and this actually
Action.
was an answer
That's
to
right,
the search. Yes.
So you, because you had really nice community in that environment, in that science too, and kind of it really catches each other dynamically,
Right.
and it connects to each other.
Right.
So I can't say just really the book. I just wanted to point out
Right.
your personality because
Well, thank
it
you for
seems
that.
a little
But you know,
bit
it
down
is
there.
interesting. You said it right. It is the people you talk to. It is the company you keep. And it somehow your actions reflect what it is that is eating you alive, and what it is that you're concerned about, what you're interested in. And instead of when somebody asks you what I'm interested in, well, maybe the better answer is, a better question is, what have you done in the past X number of days or months? Because that will reflect what it is that you seek and what you're after in a way.
Yeah.
Right?
Cliche maybe, but like linking the dots. We always talk like the things. Definitely.
Yeah, keep talking. We are not alone here. There are other people from. Why don't you come here so people can see you? Yeah, come here. Come, honestly, come here. Come here. Just say hello.
Yeah, that's
to
really
introduce
good
everybody.
idea. Even I didn't introduce myself.
Yeah, come out here because
So
you're gonna
we
ask
had-
questions, right?
Yes.
So come here so people can see you on the camera, right? So this is. You don't have to sit down. Just introduce yourself, and then. So this is. Can you see her?
Yeah.
This is Farah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
Farah.
And
Mawas.
Emma was
And
Tokmic.
Tokmic.
And come on, Riyi.
Yeah.
This is introduce yourself. So this is. Tell us your name.
I'm Riyi Qiu.
Riyi Qiu. Okay, and the gentleman behind the camera, come here and introduce yourself.
My name is Louai Mohammed.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you will ask questions as we go.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, thank you. So we can go back to the seats, but we can
Yeah,
talk.
and
So
Farah had the question about complexity. No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the question I had was, where do you see the future of the Complex System Institute?
Yeah, for the lab we were.
So it's an interesting question. Where does the complexity itself going, and what about this specific institute, right? So this institute has been thus far sort of a result of one person's push, but also 5, 6 other people receptiveness to the idea from other disciplines, like Mark Pizzato from theater, David Basher from who now is deceased from biology, even there's Joe Wickmeyer from sociology, some party, and Jim Walsh was participating, and there are many others who got interested. But so far it hasn't been a mainstream, and therefore we don't have many people participating. But now we hired a person in network science, Siddharth Krishnan. We are hiring a new person in computational social science. And I think there is now a greater level of mainstream recognition and acceptance of the fact that this might be a good area to explore. This is also reflected in DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency's funding. And we are part of $6.3 million grant from them with the University of Central Florida, a National Science Foundation, National Institutes of Health are getting into it. So I think what hasn't happened is that the complexity has a killer app, and everybody says, "Oh, without complexity, we wouldn't be able to solve it." But there's a greater recognition that it's a new paradigm, new way of thinking, that these challenging problems in the world require a different way of thinking, which is really bottom-up recognition of emergence rather than prescription of things to be done. And so I think the future of complexity is great. It was already called the 21st century, the age of complexity. So we'll see how the discipline is prepared to address real issues and spend time on that, but at the same time, to what extent will existing disciplines, like economics, be ready to accept this new paradigm. Right now they are fighting it, but there are cracks in their defense, because Elinor Ostrom, who got the Nobel Prize in economics, is really got it from behavioral economics, which is closer to complex systems.
Yep.
And so I think the future is great, and both for the Institute, because we have already started growing, and with the complexity in general. And you can see with the number of conferences, number of journal papers, number of journals, as well as the number of students in our lab.
Exactly. I was about to say.
There's 16 students and
Yeah.
PhD students
Yeah.
in this lab. This may be one of the largest in the country with
Yeah.
the number of students
Why
in the
not?
lab.
Totally agree. I think what makes it unique is its diversity too. Like
Right.
every student is working on a different project,
Right.
and that really is clearly an indication of how successful this institute is.
I agree. Farah has the vision for the future, but also I wanted to ask beforehand, like,
Okay.
I didn't know when did we initiate this center, this institute, and what was, and also this was Louai's question too, what was your goal and vision for it, like, because starting this initiative without having maybe students or something, it shouldn't be really easy, so we want to learn this
Well, thank you.
evaluation process
Yeah.
too, and
Thank you. So what happened was I was the founding dean of the College of Computing and Informatics at UNC Charlotte, and in 2007 we had this grant from DARPA, $750,000, to look at the computational social science. Can we come up with a lab, synthetic lab, computational lab, or computational approach to social science? And it was 9 months, and it gave me a chance to work with social scientists. And I realized that they do research differently than we do, very differently. It was mostly qualitative versus quantitative. And I got interested, and I said, I want to know more about it. I decided to really to go as a student to look for an appropriate program on policy. So I got into this Harvard's Masters of Public Administration. The university didn't like it that much, didn't want to, for a year I delayed it, but then I said I really want to do it. I couldn't, as a dean, do sabbatical, so I said I'm going to quit. And I said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I would like to really work on this complexity thing. Would you allow me to establish an institute? And so, thankfully, to the university, they allowed me to establish Complex Systems Institute. And I said, that's something I really want to work on and develop when I come back. A year later, came back, and the institute was as a shell waiting for me to get it started. Luckily, right away, we have five, six collaborators from other colleges started working on it. It started.
Yeah, it's really exciting though to hear the story. Now we learn it, right, Louai? This is the vision even you created from being position. So we had our lab questions, but Louai, Farah, do you have anything related for lab? Like something else?
You have all the questions.
No, I think so. And from this point, like your dean position, it is the administrative position, and it's not maybe really related to your other passion, because teaching, I have taken your many classes, most of us here.
Yeah.
You pay the price.
So definitely. So we were also wondering what drives you to be in the academia with your other old roles, but also a little bit learning about your teaching.
That's a great question. I am spending a lot of time doing administration in the role of executive director of data science and administering programs. However, and there are other roles like research and teaching. However, I do believe that education might be one of the most, if not the most important activity or human endeavor, in the sense that as we develop, there's this evolution that's happened, biological. We are progressing, and the best or most successful or lucky genes propagate themselves. But at the same time, we have this responsibility to make the society a better and better place. We have to make our mark. Now, that doesn't get carried over with genes. So it gets carried over through school. And the school is a wonderful mechanism, no matter what people think about it. Some people hate it, some people like it, but it really doesn't matter. The school is a mechanism that does what, for the culture and society, what evolution does for the biology. It allows us to learn, accept, and then modify and improve. Without education, none of us have a chance. We would have to relearn everything in our own. First our parents, then the school really prepares us for life. And in that sense, if you look at statistics, people who don't have advanced education earn less money. And so, on the one hand, that's a minus to them. But on the other, it's a minus to the society, because we don't have the benefit of the best and the most that person could contribute or could have contributed. And therefore, to me, I know that education doesn't pay as much as industry does, but it is, to me, the most important thing that I want to spend my life on. And in the sense that even if you have a million students, and if there's only one who will take that mantle and expand in billion ways what you've tried to accomplish, then you're more than happy, you're more than satisfied. The contribution is there. And it's always going to be much more than one. And that's what
Emergence.
emergence.
Exactly. Your complexity. And it comes to, like, when you said you have many administrative work, and also we know teaching part, we were also wondering how do you balance this to even three. I don't want to tell all of his things now.
Yeah.
Something, or do we need to balance it? Sometimes it balances out by itself.
Well, that's a choice. Yeah, that's a choice there. Okay, so you balance it in many ways. One way would be to say, I can do these things, but I cannot do those. And I'm going to do these in the following proportion. That's what most people do. I don't. I'm foolish enough to say, I can try to do it all. And you pay the price. You pay the price in your inability to go deep in anything. And so, yes, I'm not actually bragging in any sense, but yeah, I am the head of that society, Computational Social Science Society of the Americas, editor of a journal. The two conferences we put together. There's another one, Analytics Frontiers here, Frontiers Conference here. There's a data science program. There's complex systems. There are students. There's teaching. There's community relations on the Bosnian side. So many things. And there's family. But at the same time, I don't try to balance because it is obvious that it is important to me. Otherwise, I would have stopped it. I would say, no, I don't want to do it. But the price I'm paying is that I'm not an expert in anything. And because you're trying to, in the end, my expertise becomes organization or ability to motivate or push or have for happen. And so I accept that in any one of these areas, there's much better people. People who can do much more. But what is emerging now, there's also this knowledge of systems, meaning everything at the same time together. And if I'm becoming an expert in anything, it is really that, how to look at a system that has many moving parts, and you're trying to hold it together. So you pay the price, but at least hopefully at some point this will enable many things where others will excel. And I'm then happy.
Yeah, in system dynamics, one of your classes, we were talking about reductionism versus like holistic view.
Right, exactly.
You have it naturally, really holistic view and connector in many different parameters. So this is, I think, we shouldn't underestimate this talent, or I don't know, maybe gift that you have with teaching and also managing all the other stuff that I have been seeing for these 3 years, really. And
well,
I
thank you.
appreciate
But there's also philosophy that I mentioned at some of you that I learned a long time ago when I took a class on VLSI. Those what's the right name for those circuit boards, right? Very large scale of integration of circuit board. And what the problem there was when you have this, at that time they had these big boards. Now it's so miniaturized. And you had to run the connectors from one side to the other. And there's so many of them, and there's these components. And I have to figure out how do you go around, how do you move these lines so that don't cross as much. Because if they cross, you have to do something about it. It gets thicker, and they lose energy, and so on. So there's a constraint, as you laid out. And they found out that the best approach is that the new principle is the least commitment principle, LCP, least commitment principle, which basically said, don't put a line until you have to. So don't make a choice until you have to. And what that does, that's not all, he doesn't want to commit and say, no, that's not it. It basically said, you keep your options open. And so the principle there is, keep your options open as much as you can. Don't make a decision because you never know which door will be open. And so I try many different paths because they keep many options open, and somewhere, somehow, some of them will actually be fruitful, and then you're happy, and it's cool. Some people cannot live with that. Some people say they have to have the structure. And there's no good or bad way of doing it. They simply say, I know exactly what I will do at 1:15. Look today, what happened today. I had double book, visit from a company, and I organizational meeting of one conference and meeting of the board of another conference. And I did all three of them.
Yes, you did
Somehow.
very well, and
Going back
how
and
it
forth, and I
changed that
presented
quickly is perfect.
So probably everybody was dissatisfied. People on the board meetings say, well, this was rushed, and people at the company said, oh, this guy just gave us 40 minutes instead of 2 hours. And I presented the demo in 7 minutes because I realized they didn't have a demo, so I came up with that and I brought it. So everybody's probably thought this guy is all over the place, and this is true. But it happened.
It happens.
All of those happened,
And when the
somehow.
event happens in their thing, like when we run the conference in Arlington, they will see that, oh yeah, we have been doing this.
Yeah.
So, or for their company and
Well,
other
and
stuff.
also people say, okay, he's always 5 minutes late. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm in another meeting. They wanna,
Yes, that's right.
they wanna cut it short. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm late
Yeah.
all the time. Sorry.
And because of you, maybe I'm late to another thing as well.
Yeah, and I make
think
other
about it.
people late.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
totally
so
true.
definitely think that
Yeah.
other side. Yeah, this is really perfect. And this wasn't in our question, but it was my question, and also it goes with that DSSG Data Science for Social Good.
Right.
How we heard about it, it was also so different. So we are gonna run hopefully this summer fellowship in summer 2018, and Data Science for Social Good from Chicago. Dr. Mirsad heard about this, and you were in Lisbon for out of nowhere. So I can't imagine like a traditional father or husband or professor that is like, I'm going to Lisbon and I'm gonna call my students like just in 1 week and they will come back to Europe.
But it was interesting,
It's
and
really-
it's result of this
Yes.
doing,
You're open-
trying to do everything.
Yes,
Openness, right?
yeah.
So so it Data Science for Social Good fellowship will happen here, and Gizem is going to be responsible for success of it. And thank you for doing the Lisbon. But
Hopefully.
what happened was I get an email from this guy, and we have, as a data science initiative here, we have promoted partnership for social good. It means it's important to us, improve the
Yeah.
society. I got this email from the guy called Louai Mohammed from Portugal. I said, hey Mirsad, you're doing all this stuff. We are doing that stuff. Can we talk? Sure, I scheduled this Skype. There's a guy in Lisbon from Bosnia, or around Bosnia, from the same region. But, and I'm on Skype, so we're talking, and he said, you know how I got to you? I said, no. He said, I was looking for your daughter. How do you know about my daughter? Well, they were in Pittsburgh. Layla and his wife and my daughter Layla and and her husband, they were in Pittsburgh for a month, overlap. They became friends. And he wanted to get in touch with her again. So looked for Hadzikadic, my name popped up.
Yeah.
Then he read about me, and he says he's doing this stuff.
Yeah.
So he called me, and I said, "Yeah, somebody said I don't have time. Yeah, sure, let's talk." And from that ended up this wonderful thing. I went to see the Data Science for Social Good, which is a Chicago initiative. It was organized in Europe for the first time. Got a chance to meet him and the organizer of DSSG from Chicago. Then you luckily said, sure, I'll man my parents mad and I will leave
That's
Turkey.
okay.
I came to see them, right?
Yeah,
And I'm going to
totally.
leave them now and
Yeah.
go to Portugal for 2 months.
Yes.
And you
Sorry,
also did the same thing that I did. You traveled there, then you
Yeah.
came back,
Right,
traveled
yeah,
again,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Boston for the
I-
conference, came back to the parents.
Because you also didn't want me to lose the opportunity from Boston, so we got.
No, I didn't, but
No,
you
thank you.
responded, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
So
I
you are
appreciate
applying
it.
the same principle, and then
Yeah.
Elizabeth went for
Yes,
a month,
that's right, one of our.
and now we are part of this global
Yes.
alliance, and we're going to
Perfect.
organize it next.
Yeah.
Next.
So no
summer.
structure, but it
No
goes
structure,
really
but-
wonderful.
So if you can live in total uncertainty and chaos, sometimes good things happen.
Yeah. And last summer we were applying for many
And you see that.
partnerships, and we
Yeah.
couldn't get it, and we never get disappointed. Dr. Mirsad included, really.
Right, and you
Yeah,
applied
many things.
for
DSSG,
similar
yes,
DSSG
many
fellowship. It
times,
didn't happen.
No.
Didn't get in, and you ended up in Lisbon actually for the
Doing
main
the-
event, being the project manager
Yeah,
on the team,
and
not being a
doing the
member
job.
of the team.
Yeah,
So
this was really weird.
if you keep your mind open,
Yes,
things happen.
exactly.
And
Opportunities,
never give
I
up,
really
and
believe.
every issue is a challenge
Yeah.
that will bring more stuff to it. And I'm okay with uncertainty.
Yes.
I
me
can
too.
walk into a meeting, it's
Yeah.
only on the way
No,
in,
it
what to
is.
talk about, I can talk about.
Yes,
I can-
definitely.
if your mind is open, good things happen. But again, it's not a gift, it's how you structure it. Some people think it's horrible.
Yes.
Some people say, no, I need to know
Yes.
ahead of time, the agenda, the minutes. I don't.
Change
But you need
location-wise,
both
yes.
kinds for the
Definitely
world
to work
to
together.
work.
Yeah.
You have to work together.
Yes.
Because you have a million people like me, nothing is done.
Yes.
Somebody has to
Yeah,
get
somebody
things
has to do
done.
the real job,
Yeah.
definitely. So we were wondering this thing, but I think we had our answer. Would you choose to work in the, like, if time goes back, would you choose again to work in the academia, or would you like to go back to industry? But I think it's
I spent actually
quite a long time, until 10 years.
yeah, I spent 10 years or so
Yes.
in industry, and I think those everything has a value. I cannot say that one is better than the other. Some people are better adjusted to one than the other. Academia is better for me because of my belief in education. I would rather make 100,000 here than 2 million in industry, because I think these are the long-lasting, long-term phenomena that we're pursuing. But without industry, the world goes nowhere. And so sometimes, and also it's different. There's a difference in working for a bank versus a Google. Those are two different things, and different degree of freedom in inventing and promoting things. But both of them have different challenges. I can see myself in any of them, but I would be an odd thing, because I wouldn't be able to focus on one thing all the time. You know, when I read, my TV is on. When it's quiet, I cannot. It's so loud, that silence, that I cannot do anything. I cannot read, so I need the noise around me. So,
and for your students' viewpoint, how they affect different lives, we have another question. And also, when I started, you already, I don't want to say packed, but you already had a lot of students.
Yeah.
When I asked you, is there an opportunity? Do you know any other advisors that I can work with? And I remember you said, why not me? And I thought you were so busy with your students, number of students. Then we have our new member, Louai, and he asked the same questions. The most of the professors have maximum 4 or 5 students, but Dr. Mirsad has about 18.
16,
How could 16,
Yeah.
16, so
To
how?
graduate.
Yes, to just graduated, so but we had space, so no problem. But how do you manage this number of students, this many ideas? We are all coming to you with our full of energy, full of questions.
Right, so it is interesting. If the student really bright and intelligent, and you think you can help, there's a responsibility. You have to keep the best interest of the student in mind, and you're responsible in many ways for maximizing the opportunity for the student. And so when you see somebody who can and is bright, you really want to do this. So I'm not the only one. There's so many great faculty here. But the reason I have this many is that, first of all, you have to have the money to support those students, and I don't have the money to support all. But luckily, some actually come with full-time job, and they don't need the support. But I had a slower pace, and they don't need as much time. So half of my students are really full-time employed. They're different pace. They call me when they need me, and it is okay. My job is to direct in the right, send them on the right path. They are supposed to know more than I do in that specific one area. And for me, it's really the guidance to make sure the quality is there, that it's done in the right way. And there are others who are not full-time. They are full-time students. They are not working full-time, to which I really make sure I pay attention. I meet on a weekly basis. I used to be on a weekly basis. Then some people didn't have much to say during the meeting, so I said, when you need me, set up an appointment. That to me is number one priority. The students are the number one priority. I have that greatest responsibility to the PhD students. And so if it takes 2 hours, cancel other stuff, we'll do 2 hours. But I grow with every conversation. You will hopefully know more about me if you already don't soon. And therefore that's my way to staying in touch and abreast with what's happening. And so if I do it right, you're going to be much, much better than I. And that's the, not a hope, but that's almost a requirement.
Education.
Yeah.
You mentioned faculty here at the UNC Charlotte, we always say. So how do you see academic life in UNC Charlotte? Are you happy with it, or do you have any ideas?
Well, here in UNC Charlotte is an interesting place. It is a very honest place. It is trying to do the right things for the right reason. we have not had the reputation of an excellent place in the past just because we used to be commuter school. However, this place has changed so much. It became a traditional university in every sense. It became research university, urban research university. We are much better than people think. We are on the path that UC San Diego was at the time. UC San Diego was one of those lesser known California schools. Over the years, it became probably in top 3. It's now equal to Berkeley, UCLA, within the USC system. I think that's our story. We are now third largest, fourth or third largest, depending on how you measure. And in many areas, we are probably better than anybody else in the system, or in the state, or both states. We will probably be the second largest within 5 years. We are adding more and more research programs. I think this is a wonderful story. The campus used to be ugly, now it's beautiful, gorgeous. People come here and they always comment on the growth and new buildings and how pretty it is. This is going to be one of the best universities. In 100 years, this is going to be powerhouse. People will think it was always was like that. And it may be, I'm saying 100 just because it takes time to build something, but in 20 years will be a tremendous place. And the point is that the better we are, the more important and useful to you is your diploma from this place.
I do agree. And also, like for the diversity and interdisciplinary research-oriented faculty members, like from social science, you mentioned that like you saw many social science works and connected with our complex system institute. Really, I see this open-minded faculty members like around us, and it is, I think, unique for UNC Charlotte. Everybody is willing to work with students-wise and also faculty-wise.
And you know, we always, at some point, we had the 3 best professors in the country. There were, at one year, we had 3 in this place. There's no other university in the history of this country that had that many in 1 year. It is a place that has always been proud of its teaching tradition. So even now, it is rare that a student teaches a class, which is unheard of at research universities. We are not arrogant.
Yeah. We are so modest as Charlotte, I think.
Look at here, there are people here from who got their degrees from Harvard, Berkeley, MIT, Oxford, throughout the world. But people are not arrogant. We know our mission in life. Plus, it's a public university. You know, our job is to train everybody. We can be selective. We could take 10% of the population. That's fine. Anybody can do it. But we have a responsibility to improve the society.
Yeah. To give back to the society.
Back to society by
really
taking more. That's a different mindset than Duke or whatever.
Even with the grad school, though, how they work for grad students, PhD students all together, not just with faculty members, with the staff. So we would like to mention this too, like for our university.
I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah. And also, like, just one more question about academia too, maybe. You mentioned your time in PhD, and can you kind of compare a little bit your time in PhD, what you see in us, to our time of PhD?
So it was interesting. I came here on a Fulbright scholarship, and they sent me to SMU, Southern Methodist University, Dallas, Texas, which is a private institution, just like Duke. Duke is Methodist, SMU is Methodist as well. And I know that the president, when I left, came from Duke. He was provost at Duke. At SMU, there was this professor who, the chair of the department, was MIT graduate. He just graduated. I was his first PhD student. And it was interesting, combination of that was that he basically left me, gave me all the flexibility, whatever you want to do. So I worked alone for 3 years. And after 3 years, and then he got more students. Actually, got somebody from China. He was Chinese, from Taiwan. So he got somebody from China who was really this big star who designed computers. And so he and I were doing it at the same time, and ready at the same time to graduate. And I happened to set up my defense one day and the other guy was the next day. So I ended up being his first PhD student and first graduate. But I did it in 3 years, less than 3 years, because I said, I'm ready. He said, okay. And that's my biggest regret in life, that I came out too early. I needed another year to have more publications, to have a deeper, really greater impact on the field, to have it more mature. And I think that you pay the price when you come out too early. I was really thankful and grateful to my advisor for giving me the freedom of inquiry. And I went through all these different places. And to trusting me enough. But also, and I was thankful that he said, it's fine. But now I think you should have said, no, come on, let's just spend one more time, one more year. And what I see here in our students, I see that in many, probably not all, some of them just want to go out and finish as soon as possible. But in many of you, I see this desire to learn, understand, and contribute. And I think that's required for a greater and faster success in life. It might be slower now, but it's going to improve tremendously what happens afterwards. If you're known as the expert in the field, if you publish something that others look at, you're going to get to a better place, better university. So I think a lot of people here are doing exactly the right thing. The level of maturity is great.
So can we say that this is your maybe one advice to current PhD students? Like, take the time to learn more? Or
I would say,
have any, like, if we ask, let's ask just one advice from you. Would you say this?
That's absolutely right. And thanks for giving me a chance to say this. I would say don't rush. You will know when you're ready. You will know when spending more time, then it becomes incremental, slow improvement. But the most of it is there. But it takes time for it to mature. And you have to convince yourself. You will know when you're ready. You have to be honest with yourself and say, have I made that contribution? Others will know. If you don't take the time to believe yourself that you are a PhD, nobody will look at you. You will not get to the right place. You will not publish in the right places. You will not make an impact in life. Because then that attitude you carry throughout your life. I want to just get it over with. It's not get it over. Do it well. And even if you do 3 rather than 15, you will get better reward for the 3 things you do than for the 15 half-baked. And people will treat you that way in life. They will see it, they recognize.
Reflection.
Yeah.
So for this one, do you think that some students should have these skills always to succeed in these things, like in PhD? Like mostly they are curious about like the most important skills in PhD. Do you think, can you kind of, classify these things for me? I can't classify people, so I can give them like 3 most important things. To-do list, 10 to-do list. I am against these things, but people want to learn from you.
So that's a tough one because everybody's different and everybody acts, learns differently and has different priorities. I would say that the one of the most important attributes is the confidence in your capabilities. You cannot look over your shoulders and see if somebody's doing better or more. Am I good enough? You start by saying, I'm good enough. I can do this. And you absolutely have to believe in you. Otherwise, nobody else will. That's one thing. The second, that you have to understand who you are and how you learn. You cannot copy anybody else. Yeah. You must learn to be yourself because there's a reason why you're you. You're a combination of your genes and your culture, and there's nobody like you. And it's your responsibility to really to know you, your learning style, what is important to you, and that translates into I will take time, more time or less time. I will focus on these things, but not that. I will work on those issues because it's important to me and not something else. The ability to know yourself is going to pay off tremendously in life and for your dissertation. But of course, the last one is you have to know the fundamentals. You have to know fundamentals. You cannot fake it. Meaning you have to, if you need 5 tools, then learn those 5 tools. You cannot just. So the screen came back.
No, it came back. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Collaboration always.
The screen got dark.
Yes,
everybody said,
they
"Okay, what do we do
were-
now?
I
We
know,
got
they
another
were all in
laptop
mind.
and stuff."
Definitely in my mind because these questions are. Gonna
She's
be-
ready for TV. She's pretending like she's listening to me and then arranging everything else.
I'm ready for
Farah
Farah
came
is
over.
definitely. Even they were gonna give me the cards.
Oh yeah.
Oh, put the note in it.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah. Paper.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jump
This is team
show.
job
Yeah.
always. So we are gonna go a little bit personal questions if
Okay.
you let us.
3
Yeah.
questions ago, you said the last question.
Yes, last question.
Oh,
Yeah,
from that,
from
from
the
that
first-
section.
Yeah. Well, that's that.
Yes, sections. Yeah, we
Okay.
classify our questions.
Now, personal.
Have our data analysis kind of we will go to next time. So this is one of our again like lab members' question. Malek, she was really curious about your network, how they build and keep them. She's such a connector too. She's so talkative too. But when it comes to professional life, she was really curious about it. How could he manage this all connections network while he's doing all other stuff?
Right, so it's there are many things that. So in my case, all right. So let's talk about me. I plan very little. Okay, so
I see that.
not many people will think it's a compliment. So. But you go into it. I'm not afraid of anything. You go into it and see which doors get open. Remember my question about keeping the options open. And I know that to some I react a certain way and to other opportunities the other way. And my nature will tell me what the options are. So in every conversation, this is really true. In every conversation, I'm looking for the reason for the conversation. Everybody has something to say. And I need to open my mind and understand what it is that they're trying to tell. What is the message that I need to learn and I did not know before? That implies that you really know how to listen and care about people enough so that you really listen. You don't wait for your chance to say something, but you listen to what they have to say. And that's one skill that I never planned for, if I have a skill. But it came natural to me, the desire to know that person that I'm talking to. Somehow people notice it and they want to keep talking and I keep maintaining the relationship. It's desire to learn, find out. That's one thing that I really have. I want to learn how everything works. That's why I read 10 books at the same time on 10 different subjects. I may never finish them all, but I start and get to the middle. Some of them I finish. But things start connecting. And I'm not asking anything of those connections. I'm not doing it on purpose to get famous or to get in life. Or it is just I'm really, really interested in what people have to say and who they are. Now, complexity theory says it's not about who you are, but who you know. And that is also true. When you need help, you know who to call. Or people are happy that you call because I didn't go to them out of interest or something to get out of them for me. A really true desire to understand who they are. And to this day, that's something that is really interesting and important to me. I want to know who all of you are as people and as human beings. And on the other side, what is it that I can do if I can do anything to help you become much better version of yourself? Not me or somebody else, but to help you discover yourself. That's, I think, where the network came from.
I see you. I have chance to see you, especially with organizing committees, everything. You really listen to everyone, like from any different backgrounds. We could reach out a diplomat, and I even didn't realize it today, for instance. He he was the
Yeah, it was
politician.
different.
He was a diplomat we were talking to. I was just saying his first name and sending emails. Then I'm like, oh, this is that person that I couldn't reach his email address even last week.
Right.
But I don't know, for somehow from the web page we reached them. Like, I really admire this thing too.
I just want to add, I felt this about Dr. Mirsad from the first 5 minutes I
Yes.
met with him ever in my life. I could right away, I was very engaged and I was very grateful and happy to be speaking to such a deep-minded person
Yes.
who's thinking beyond.
Yeah.
He's looking at me, talking to me, but he's
Seeing.
thinking through, like,
Yeah.
you know, wanting to learn about
Yeah.
me, who I am, where I come
Yes.
from, and I felt that right away. That's so
Thank
true.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, can we ask the turning point in your life? You are
Assuming-
such a complex person. So I'm not sure if you had just one turning point in your life that career particular.
I have so I have not had a turning point or moment that something happened and I said, okay, it's setting me to this path. Everything is changing. What I did have is that I grew up at some point, and it happened late. Like it was somewhere between my 35th and 40th birthday. I know at that point, through that point, I was just doing what other people expected me to do. You go through life. There's certain expectations, and you do it. And I was just living life because that's how you do it, and that's what the expectations are. Somewhere along that period, I started being interested in reading anything and everything, and finding out actually that it is okay to be myself. I have to tell you, up until that time, I was always trying to be somebody else or something else, because you see this person is better and popular and good looking and whatever and smart, and so I want to be like that. And somewhere between 35 and 40, I said, well, maybe I have no option. It is what it is, whether I like it or not. Let's find out what it is. And it wasn't a conscious decision, but I think that's really what was happening. I started being more comfortable in my skin and really started reading. I remember that I just suddenly developed this desire that never left me for reading. Those years were formative. And then I made choices that I went to working for a consulting company, went to the Carolina Healthcare System. Everybody said, what? Came back to the university, I was on leave of absence. Then when I did Harvard, everyone said, what? You're leaving the deanship? And to me it was, but I want to grow. It's something, if I don't do this, I'm going to regret all my life. And I did it. That's fine. Things worked out in a certain way. So no turning point, but yes, turning period. Yeah.
Thank you. And last question. Really, I promised the last question. Who is the most supportive person in your life?
Supportive.
Supportive, yeah.
Well, okay, so there are 3 people I need to mention.
I was going to ask you people most supportive.
Right, 3 people. And you always think somebody asks you who's your idol, you come up with something like a big name and so on. And I never had anybody. But then I realized that there are 3 people who really were responsible for the most part, if there was any success. So first of all, you have to realize that success is not yours. Because somebody raises you, you inherit certain genes, you're born in certain opportunity, you use it. It's nothing really, very little is that due to you. So first you have to recognize it. Then I realized that my parents, who didn't go to college, never questioned that I would go to college. Never questioned. Not rich, not enough money, but at no point did they question that I would, or my brother would go to college. It was given. That was huge. That was big. That sets you on a certain path. And they both have a different lifestyle, not always easy, but or approach to life. both of them kind and gentle and influenced me in different ways. The other person is my grandmother, and I'll often talk about her. And just because she was the kindest person on earth with a broadest smile. Never seen her, they were poor. Never seen her without a smile or gentle touch, really. And she was the one, she was not literate, she couldn't read or write. But she was the one who basically said, and I repeat it every time because it's the greatest strength that I have heard any person articulate, the strength of character, who said, thank God there is death. Now, it is so deep to me because she's not selfish in any sense. She didn't say, I want to live forever. I want to have all of these things. She basically says, I'm human. There is a purpose. I did what I could. There's time to retire and leave the world to better people. Who's going to do more? Younger, more capable, more educated. Not a shade of her or any kind of ego or I in that state. It is just complete understanding of life at its core. Somebody who was illiterate, didn't travel anywhere, didn't see much to the world. She didn't need it. She had the world inside herself. And I remember that that's one person that I never dreaded to see. Always, when you're a little boy, your mom said, oh, let's go to see the pool quick.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes at that age, there are some older people who want to spend any time with, oh, guy, come on. You're 15 years old, you're old. I'm 7. What am I to do with it? But with her, just wanted to see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I would like
There's
to
one
do
last
this.
question.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you for doing this. So this is great. So we're going to do this for everybody in the
Yes.
lab. So watch for the next ones. We'll be
Yeah.
with
Thanks for
students.
Stay
supporting
tuned.
us.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.